and welcome to the His and Hers show with Jody
and Alex Misiak.
And today we're going to talk about meal planning. Why? Because it's September, and last week we talked about having, finally getting into like a routine again. And this is a really good time to really switch up your eating habits or cooking habits or planning or adding to it. So today we're going to share a little bit about what we discovered when we changed our eating habits. Because when our daughter was born, we were so tired. We're just like, what are we going to eat for supper tonight? I don't know. And then we ordered it in. So once she started eating solid foods, we realized that we would like to be a better role model for her. So we started planning meals, because when we didn't plan meals, we'd be hungry and tired, and we would just go back to ordering food. So we're going to share a little bit about today, what we came up with and what we still do today and have really, I think, successfully keep implementing all the time. And I find that if we have a busy week though and we don't take time for this is when we spend more money and we waste food, or we have a lot of takeout. Yep. And I'd love to even add, because you mention it all the time, how much better we feel now that we've changed to this eating, we really eat clean for the most part.
Yeah.
And how we feel so this helps with energy. So this is great for saving money for takeout, feeling better when you eat awesome food and well-round balanced food. And it just helps, get that energy and just makes you feel better. Mm. So what we share today with you is it's going to help you and make it a little easier for you to meal plan and to cook and have a really good schedule. However, there is work involved. So this isn't like a magic wand. It's like, ta-da, your meals are made and you're good to go. But this is a really good plan to help you have a more successful routine towards eating. And a couple of things. One, I want to remind you that this is what works for us. Maybe you can take what we're sharing here with you today and copy and paste it and make it your own, because every family is different. You might have older kids. Your schedule might be different. We both work from home, so that does play a little bit of factors in it. However, we do work. So even though we are at home, that doesn't mean that we're constantly cooking either, because we are working. Yeah. So we do need to keep the meals simple. We do simplify things, but at the same time, we cook a lot of things from scratch. We don't do a lot of frozen. If you do, that's cool. No judgment there. We have decided to eat as clean as possible with a busy lifestyle. So we're just going to, again, share some of those things today. So one of the big things we do is we ask our kids during the week leading up to meal planning, or at least one, because Jaden's a little young to be like, he'd just be like, yeah. He'll eat pretty much anything we eat for the most part, unless he goes through his picky phases. We ask our daughter, what would you be in the mood for? Usually her answer is pizza, even though she doesn't eat pizza. So it doesn't usually help us, but sometimes it does.
We make suggestions, yes. Right? And that usually helps better.
And it gives them a chance to really think my input is important. I matter too. And it's just kind of getting a feel do they want chicken this week? What are they looking for for next week? And it's even more important if your kids aren't eating the meals you are cooking, because nothing feels worse than making a meal and then your kids don't eat it.
Yeah, I like that. I didn't think about it until you mentioned it. But yes, asking Anastasia, even if she's not exactly giving us an answer that she really means, or if we can work her to an answer or we can help work her through to an answer that she'll actually be more behind. But it gives your kids a sense of agency, they have, and that's important, especially as they get older, because the more control they feel that they have over their lives, and the more they think their input matters, and it does matter, especially when it comes to what they want to be eating. The more empowered they feel.
Yes. And it also creates healthy eating habits.
Sure.
So then they feel like they have the control to pick what they eat now, instead of when they go off to college or university and they're like, I never got to decide anything before. I'm just going to eat cookie dough. I remember doing that. I wasn't even in college or university yet. I had a weekend to myself at my grandma's house. I can't remember why I was in town, but I walked to the grocery store and I went through the junk aisle.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I get to pick. I'm in charge of it.
Is that because your family worked was you had set meals, like every day was a certain meal of some kind?
No, we never had any.
Okay, that's good.
I used to, in my childhood, because I was the oldest, so I was cooking meals for my family by 10. I'd come home from school and I'd make them food for my younger sisters. And my brother was at the daycare, or not daycare, at the babysitters. So a lot of the time, this is how my childhood was. I'd call my mom at work, be like, hey, what's for supper? What would you like for supper? What would you like me to cook? Or I would just make it by myself. Like, I'd come up with it. Usually, though, at the early stages, I would call my mom and bug her at work and ask her what it was. So I was always the one that started the implementing, like, let's make supper. Because my mom would have ideas, but she never had, like, a structured meal like we're going to talk about soon.
All right.
But yes, I was always in charge of making sure supper was on the table before because my mom wouldn't get home to about 6:30 usually. So if we left it to her, it'd be Sundays. Because she would be tired and hungry when she got home. So I was in charge of supper.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about, so one of the big things first is that once we ask the kids, you and I sit down and we have a conversation. We usually focus on suppers first because they're the big meals. And and then with breakfast and lunch, they're a little bit more routine. Right. So, we usually eat this. We have a couple ideas for the kids.
Yeah. I feel like I can eat the same breakfast.
Yeah. And I usually do
day,
too.
Yeah. And lunches are more or less the same.
In the winter months, I like to have, usually it's a warmer breakfast, or I have a couple options because I'm, cold. But in the summer, it's like smoothies and, easier stuff. However, we sit down and we focus on the suppers first. What we do is, one thing is we look at the week. So if we're going away on the weekend, or we have plans, we obviously aren't having supper at home, so we don't count that. But usually, or sometimes we have a leftover day on the Saturday. Yep. We've had that many a times where we're like, wow, we have a lot of leftovers. Let's have a leftover day and then start our week on Sunday. And that would mean that we have 6 meals. And so that means that we would cook 3 different dishes, or 3 different separate meals. And that's because we would eat, so we only cook 3 days a week.
If that. Sometimes we can even
Sometimes if it's a slow cooker meal, we can put, or a casserole dish, we can actually put it together with another meal and then just have it in the fridge, and so I can put it in the oven later. Yeah. Especially on a work day where I just want to throw it in the oven, or in a slow cooker. We love our slow cooker.
But the key is, at most, we're cooking 3 days. And
usually if we are home for 7 days straight, that means we have 3 meals. However, then we have that stray day, and we either just do 4 meals, then it overlaps into the next week, or we just do a fun day where maybe we do buy something from the frozen aisle. Like, we have those chicken bites sometimes, because sometimes we make our own chicken fingers, but that takes a lot more work. So it's do we do something fun that day?
Right.
Or we do a picnic style lunch where we have, cured meats and cheese and bread
cheeses,
and things.
Bread and some carrot sticks or celery sticks.
So it really depends. Sometimes we just, let loose and have a fun day. Or sometimes, like I said, then we have 4 meals and we just go into the next week. Because who doesn't like going into the next week? That's one less meal that we have to make the following week. So anyways, we figure out how many dishes, and then that's really all it is. And then we usually try and do different kinds of meats. In the summer, we really loved to have a vegetarian day or a meatless day. It doesn't have to be vegetarian, but meatless. We just find in the winter it's a little harder to do because we want that meaty
thing to keep you warm.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you get more work to work with, and keep your body warm throughout the winter. Yeah, that's true. Cause it's easier in the summer months to have cold meals, like gazpacho, if you want to be fancy and do, which is basically just cold soup, right? And
we have a friend that actually, now it doesn't work for our kids, but their kids, they call it pudding to their kids. Carrot pudding.
Carrot pudding.
So if your kids are having a hard time eating vegetables, it's a really good way to blend up the vegetables and give it. However, our kids know the difference.
Yes, they know the difference between pudding and any kind of healthy option.
Yeah. Anyway, so what I want to just we kind of glossed over a little bit, but we do have so we do 3 meals, and then we eat those for 2 days. So let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we cook, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday we cook, and then we go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we eat that dish. We repeat. We hit repeat by the time we cook. So that might be hard if you have big eaters in your family where you make a dish and it's gone.
Yeah, no leftovers.
One of the things we're going to have to do if we want to keep up with this meal planning that we've been doing is double the recipe.
Yeah.
So but for us, our kitchen is always a constant state of mess. So if we only cook 3 days a week, that actually helps us clean up the kitchen. So by the end of the week, we're ready for a new week. So it just kind of keeps, the mess down. Also, you don't have to cook 3 days in a week. You could do a lot of meal prep. Like if you're doing a lot of slow cookers, I know people have it where you could put a meal in a Ziploc bag and then you throw it in the slow cooker. And there's different ways of doing it. You could do a meal prep where you spend one weekend doing it for the whole month and then you freeze it all in bags. Like there's so many ways of doing this if you don't have 3 days a week to cook. And before we had 2 kids, we actually meal planned and did most of our prep work on the Sunday.
Yes, that's
But
right.
now because of things, we find that's a little too hard to just focus on the Sunday. We will do our lunch prep. And if our breakfast needs prepping, then we'll do that. But for the most part, so it's really finding ways to work for you. And it could just be like a Sunday. And if you have kids that you can help with the meal prep, then get them involved for the Sunday.
Absolutely, yep.
And it's like, that's how you get your lunches together. I know when I was working where I had to be in a warehouse every day and I worked 10-hour days. So it was 4 days. That day before I started working, I put all my lunches together. I planned it like whatever would keep the longest would be the last day. And I actually labeled them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it was literally in a bag in the fridge, tied up with the name. And in the morning, I would just grab it and go. Grab it and go. Like it was that simple. So you can even do that with your kids' lunches if you can, and then you add the things to their lunch pails maybe that day that can't go in the fridge. But it's really, I'm all about making the lunch the night before.
Yeah.
So if even for yourself for work, if you're out working outside of the house, I highly recommend looking into at least one that night before. And if you can't, like for me, I get home so tired after a 10-hour day. I pretty much took time for me, showered, and then went to bed. Like those 4 days, I didn't do a whole lot. So it's just, and then that weekend, I'd have a lot of fun. This is obviously before kids, but this is how I did things before I could eat lunch at home.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, that's good. Planning is better than not planning. I gotta plan my lunches better. I still.
Yes, you do.
I'm still having a bad habit of putting them together while I'm feeding the kids breakfast.
Yeah, so. I highly recommend the night before, and that's what we do for Anastasia's lunch for her for public school.
Yeah, we have to do that for her.
That's what we do. Yes,
yeah.
And we love the bento style for lunches because she likes to eat little things. So just having a little bit of everything in her lunch.
Yes, as opposed to like
a big sandwich or something. Like it's tortilla rolled up with peanut or wow butter and jam and some raisins or
carrot sticks, fishy crackers, simple things. So hopefully. Yeah,
unfortunately her lunch is a little less healthy than I would like it to be, but at this stage we gotta feed her what she'll eat. Okay, so once we figured out what meals we want to cook, we actually sit down, and actually it's usually you that has the grocery list, and you use Flip. Do you still use that?
I still use Flip. Yeah, Flip is is a pretty good app when it comes to. There are probably other ones out there for organizing recipes and meal planning. It's a good way to compare prices of certain things, but I just use it as a rotating a list, the grocery list, because I'm able to once I grab it and I put it in my cart, then I can check it off and I can clean up the list, and I can do price comparisons. So if there happens to be something at a really good price somewhere, then I'll see it, and then I can look at my list and go, can I get most of my groceries at this place that has this nice sale on a few of the items, kind of deal. And if I can't, then I don't bother and I just buy it somewhere else, because time is also something. That's the other thing that our meal planning is providing us with is time. So it doesn't do me any good to save time in one area only to lose it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So there is some balance there. You can chase those bargains, but they're only a bargain if the savings in money also equals savings. Like
time and gas.
Time and gas, exactly. I can't hit 5 different stores, right, to save a few bucks.
Now, if you're in a small town and all those stores are there, because I know a couple around here that have like a handful of stores that you could easily go to.
Sure,
it's different. But for us,
there's only a few nearby, and maybe you live farther away from the state corp. Anyways. Point is, don't save time in one area just to lose it somewhere else.
Because as it is, we usually go to 2 stores. Yes. One for like local produce and meats, and then the other one.
We are lucky enough to be able to do that. Not everybody can. So for sure.
So once we have that list going, obviously, we go and get the food, but then it's that meal prep, like prepping. Like I already talked about it a little bit, but it's looking at like what can you prep beforehand. So you're not doing it the day of or the morning of, right? So we sit down and be like, well, what meals are we going to do what days? Because with swimming lessons, it would be, we have to be out the door at 6:00. We have to have an early supper. We have to do something simple.
Yep.
And sometimes actually that goes into our decision making for food too. Some weeks we have more time consuming meals to make, and other weeks we're like, wow, we spent a lot of time in the kitchen this past week. Let's keep everything simple. Like I mentioned before, we make our own chicken fingers, literally breaded and cut,
which are amazing.
Yes,
by the way.
It just they take not a lot of work, but sometimes more than we want to put in. We notice that we're usually eating later that day because we're like, we didn't do it sooner because we're working. So it's really looking at your week and seeing like how much time do you want to be in that kitchen, and then, like I said, we usually go grocery shopping Saturday. Sometimes Friday, depending on how our weekend's looking. And then Sunday is like, hey, what kind of meal prep can we do? And it could be like that the day that we're cooking, or Sunday that we're cooking supper, we can also be chopping vegetables for the next day if it's a stir fry. Or you've been in the kitchen a lot where you make my lunch for the following day.
Yep.
So it's or doing all the chopping for the salad, because that has a lot of chopping involved. Because it's just like loaded with every single vegetable I can think of. So you usually do a lot of the prepping the night before.
And the more you do it, the faster you get at it. So.
And like I said before, if you have kids that are older, get them in there helping. For us, we can have Anastasia in there, and even Jaden loves being in there. But when there's chopping involved, like major chopping, I like when you can be in the kitchen and I'll just be playing with the kids or, doing something.
They're good at stirring and dumping things in. Very good.
So when we're like baking or making a soup, it's good.
Very handy.
But so meal prep, definitely important.
Or a pasta sauce or a pizza sauce. Anything any kind of thing where you can dump and stir. So, even with them being so young, they still can be involved and help, especially if they have shown interest in doing so.
Okay. So we hope that you can take something from that. And it's really just making a plan and obviously figuring out what works for you. And like I've mentioned before, it could be like that you dedicate one weekend a month to just doing it all and getting it all ready and freezing it. I've definitely seen things online for that. We're not there yet because I like to kind of space it out a little bit more than a weekend. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want to write off a whole weekend doing that. And I really do miss the days that we were in the kitchen all the time working together. Now we're usually separated a little bit. But hopefully you can take something from that and make it your own.
Yeah, and build on it and change it. Mm-hmm.
And you can mold it slowly into what works. Because like I've mentioned, we're going to have to change it as our kids change and get older and eat more.
Yeah, and it did take us a little while to shift out of that, the carefree, like I'm just too tired and buying. Mm-hmm. We'll just go out.
It did take time, yes.
It took time to shift out of that and into what we have now.
Find your why, because our why was we wanted to really have that. We wanted to show our daughter, now our children, how, like, we wanted to show them healthy eating because we wanted them to eat healthy. So it's like, well, we have to be their role models. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things I just want to say is if your vegetables are going, just like 2 little tidbits that we've learned through our life, real quick, is if your vegetables are going and you're like, oh man, I don't want to eat that, throw it in a pot, add some water and seasoning, and now you got a veggie broth. You don't have to buy it. You buy, one of those chickens that are already cooked and stuff at the grocery store. eat it. Like I've had it for chicken salad sandwiches, or I forget what else I've used it for. But anyways, have the bones after, and now you got chicken broth.
Yep.
So and you can put that on like on a Saturday morning when you're, cleaning up the house, or any day that you're home. I've even know that people that make bone broth put it in the slow cooker for the day. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar helps leach out those awesome minerals from the bones. And now you got broth, and you can freeze it. And we freeze them in containers that are, I think, 2 cups. 2 cup containers, and then that's usually what you need, or sometimes you need more.
For a recipe, yep. That's
and then this way you don't have to spend it on the box, on the boxes or cans that you buy, plus no sodium.
Yep.
Like we don't add salt to ours. Or if you do a pinch, like how much salt is going into yours. So that's one tidbit. Also, one thing I didn't realize that people don't know yet, but somebody came up to us at the store. It's like, here, do you want some bananas? After they went through the grocery like the ring out and checkout, I'm like, why did she give us bananas? Realizing you can actually in the grocery store if you only want 2 or 3 bananas, take 2 or 3 bananas off.
Yes.
Like you can actually tear them apart.
Yes.
If you want some ripe and you want some green, take a little bit of both. You don't have to grab like a ginormous bunch of bananas.
Yeah.
So that is a little just helpful trick in case you don't know. So we lucked out to get bananas because somebody didn't know this.
That works with grapes and cherries. Any of those things that come in large bags.
Yeah, because we used to waste grapes because we wouldn't eat enough grapes. And then you just got like my grandma's like, well, why don't you just take some out? We're like, aha, like it's just these little things. Yeah. Anyways, we hope these little tips help. And if you have any other questions, please just feel free to reach out to us at info@jodymisiak.com. And we'd be happy to share any other things. I guess we could go on forever for this one, but
and if you've got tips,
feel free
we'd
love to hear them.
Maybe we'll assemble them all and
and put it on like a viewers, info episode.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay. Well, we hope you have a great day.
Bye for now.
Bye.